All right, everybody. Well, my name is Joe Dallas. I'm the Chief Business Officer over here at TradePending. If you've been to our fire pit chats before or any of our webinars, I'll be the familiar face. That is what I used to look like a long time ago, not anymore. And then today we have a really special guest, an early adopter, a big fan of TradePending, Julie Kimes from the O'Daniel Automotive Group. So thank you so much, Julie, for coming by today, and welcome to our Fire Pit Chat series.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We'll get into some intros here in just a second. Just a couple of housekeeping items. If you have to sign out early or aren't able to attend, we're recording this, so we'll be able to send that out to you. You'll notice that you're muted. It's not because we don't want to hear from you, just to keep the audio nice and clean. But if you have a question, feel free to drop it into the Q&A button here at the bottom of the screen, and we'll try to get to your questions. All right. So Julie, we had a talk last week and have some kind of some items to go over today. But before we get into that, why don't we start with with you, Julie Kimes? Tell us about yourself, your background, how in the world you ended up in automotive.
So, actually, back in '88, my parents bought a car dealership in Ohio. So, my mother and my stepfather bought the car dealership, and my dad was a farmer. So, I went to work for them, 3 years, absolutely loved it. Moved back to Fort Wayne and went to work at O'Daniel's and have been there ever since. I have worked practically every single position in the dealership. Love the car business.
Very cool. How long have you been there at O'Daniel?
It's 30 plus years. So I started in sales and gradually worked my way to the top.
Very cool. What was it about automotive marketing within the dealer group that kind of drew you in? How did you end up kind of landing there?
So I've always been really good on online marketing. I'm not good with programs, but I'm good with the Google AdWords, Facebook marketing, when analytics. I kind of look at the back side before I look at the front side. That makes sense.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, certainly, obviously, you're doing a great job over there. We've been in touch and working together as partners for a long time. And we just, as we were talking last week, you guys just had your best month in 40 years, which most dealers I haven't even been around for 40 years. So what do you think was what drove that incredible success there in March?
It was just crazy. I wish I could put my finger on it. I think the stimulus had a lot to do with it. There was a lot of cash down payments. I think the inventory, I think the inventory crunches in regards to new are out there in the public, and I think customers are taking a little bit serious between the shortness of inventory, the stimulus checks. Honest, we were swamped all month. Couldn't keep up.
That's great. What do you how has in the last year, because now we're kind of dealing with a different sort of inventory crunch than we were a year ago. How has your sourcing strategies on getting more inventory? How has that changed or evolved, in the last year?
So, honestly, you guys are a big part of where we're at today. We use your tool in all of our email blast and all of our paid advertising online. We just kind of drive them to that value my trade, and then we use the buy it now. Our BDC works it nonstop, and we're able to source quite a few cars that way, thankfully.
And a lot of that is proactively reaching out to customer base.
Absolutely. We're nonstop. We'll buy your trade, give them the link to see the value of it. We monitor those clicks, and our BDC gets on after they click. It's kind of just a full circle, everybody's hands on deck. One of the big things we did, once being a salesperson, there's nothing worse than, that was my up and all they want to do is sell their car. So we used to pay $100 flat to a sales rep. Now we pay the same type of commission we would purchasing the car as we do selling the car. That's helped tremendously too. So customers are treated with the same respect, and just it helps get the job done.
Interesting. So the salespeople are incented more to acquire, not so much just to sell, right?
Absolutely.
Hmm. That's interesting. I've wondered how many groups and dealers around the country have adjusted that pay plan, because it seems like that's definitely one of those like pull a string instead of push a string thing, right?
Right. I mean, you'd see it. We'd spend all this money and all this time and all this effort. Somebody would come in to speak to our VIP manager and they wanted to sell their trade. And then you'd see a salesman just get deflated instantly. Yeah, I'll take it over there.
Yeah. I guess I'll waste my time to do that, right? Interesting.
But I mean,
So
we just recently changed the pay structures not even a month ago because the sourcing is getting so tough.
interesting. So let's talk about that squeeze a little bit. With the chip shortage, which is what's driving a lot of that. What if you had a crystal ball? What would you think? When are things getting back to normal? I guess would be a good way of asking it.
If I would guess normal, 6 months. I mean, again, you have lots of factors. I mean, the new car shortage is definitely real. I mean, we're starting to experience those crunches with the chip shortage. With the same time the model year changeover. I mean, it's a. I wish I had that crystal ball because we were talking about it this morning.
Yeah, yeah. So we shared a couple of kind of anecdotal stories. My favorite was the Jeep story, and there was another one that you had some crazy story about a lease. I think with your son. You mind sharing that
Oh
for
yeah, so my son's 20. I mean, obviously with Mazda, we get some pretty big incentives to lease him a vehicle. Bad thing about a 20-year-old is he runs all over town. So his lease was 9 months from being mature, and he was already 1,000 miles over his lease. So I'm like, okay, stop, park it, put it behind the building, have my appraiser take a look at it, and that was roughly it was like $3,200. I'm like, okay, great, I'll handle it when I get back from vacation. But when I come back, I'm actually 200 ahead. It's a crazy swing. Thrilled, but I mean, it's just there's some crazy swings right now.
yeah.
We're going out and since that experience, we're going to everybody that's at least 12 months out in their leases and trying to get them back in and re-up. And
It's crazy. And then you're worried about what you're going to get them back into, right?
right, I mean, it's kind of a fine line right now. Do you step up all the way? I mean, it's just kind of a
So
crazy time. I know we
yeah,
have to have them to sell them, and especially the new car dealers. I mean, I drove by a Chevy store this morning, and they were bare boned inventory. At least I have some cars, but I know our Ford store. I mean, they're hurting for inventory. Porsche
trucks are
stores
hard to
are,
come by right now.
yeah, there's a lot of shortages.
What's your feel on what's going on? I know that your market is not necessarily affected by like Carvana or CarMax, I believe, but what's kind of the word on the ground with auctions out there right now?
It's been since so long since anybody's attended a physical auction. We had a recent internet crisis. So last week, my guys went out. They couldn't touch a thing. They couldn't buy a thing. Carvana was eating everything up down in Indy. Just
And
don't know
and
where
they're
they go
paying
with it.
they're paying a premium for it and making it hard to touch for
So they were going to 110% um, cost to market and not touching anything.
goodness, man. What a weird time. It kind of it's almost like cash for clunkers, but way worse, right?
Right?
Um, the other crazy story you told me about was like there was some pillaging going on, like taking chips out of one model and putting it into another with a manufacturer.
I know with a lot of the manufacturers, and there's actually a big webinar scheduled tomorrow as far as game plans and actually transparency with the chips. But with Mazda, at least, they have stopped like the Mazda 3s and have really shifted the parts towards our bread and butter vehicles like the CX-9, CX-5s to keep those rolling in production. Like I said, we have a call scheduled tomorrow for some updates on that. But I mean, it's a serious Serious problem.
Crazy. So let's talk a little bit about what it's like to market for O'Daniel. Like to talk about like your day to day. What are you looking for? Um, what takes up a lot of your time, and then like how do you kind of quantify success of your strategies?
So, I mean, basically, what I look at is my analytics. Every day I'll be in our analytics, studying it, seeing, are we engaging, and then I can move right to our AdWords and our Facebook marketing to see where our traffic's coming from. We don't do much in the way of third party advertising anymore. We quit that several years back. We still have our cars.com because they still provide a very good ROI for us currently. But the auto traders, the Kelly Blue Book buying centers, all that went by the wayside. Um, Here at O'Daniel's, it's kind of nice because we're a family owned dealership. We've been around for 40 years. So we don't do any of the trash messaging that you see a lot. We don't do any of the games or the gimmicks. I mean, we're pretty involved in our community. So we try to advertise that a lot,
Mhm.
um, and just kind of watch the trends.
Yeah, makes sense. And then what what would you say is in a dealership that's been around that long, do you feel like once you get a customer in there, it's kind of yours to lose, or do you feel like it's where's like the line? Are competitions like competitors trying to encroach upon the incumbent, right? The one that's been around the longest. Do you see any of that?
So it's funny. I see everybody buying our name. That's one thing I will not buy is our name because we are known so well in the community. But I see everybody buying it. I think when you want to find O'Daniels, you will.
Mm, okay.
Um, and there's no sense bidding against other people to get there. Maybe that's the wrong philosophy. I know it's wrong in Google's eyes, but it's also a big wasted spend too.
Right, right. Yeah, and speaking of that, you mentioned you rolled off a handful of, third-party companies that obviously were kind of in the same space with. So what makes a good, vendor partner? What attracts you to vendor partners, and then maybe we can talk about, why we're so awesome and you use us.
Um, Vendors bring something good to the table. I mean, I'm not a type of person that's going to sign up with you just because you tell me, oh, we're so great. I'm going to check your references. I'm going to see it for myself. And then when you come in, I want you to bring value to me. I just, here's my reports. Well, I can pull those reports myself. I don't need you to sit in my office, take up my time.
Mm,
Mm. But you guys have service support's been huge. I mean, everything breaks. Let's face it, everything breaks. I want somebody I can call, they can fix it. They don't just try to, oh, this person's fault, this person's fault, this person's fault. Keep you on support calls all day long. I want somebody to take charge and just fix it.
yeah, and we kind of talked about this too, just about like what the split is on like the value you bring versus kind of your company culture slash personality. Just talk about that for a second as well.
So I mean, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I mean,
Oh, just like a rep comes and knocks on your door, right, and has a widget or a service or something like that, and it's like the value versus actually kind of connecting with that person or the culture of that company.
so I think, probably 50% of it is just connecting with that person. But I'm also going to use other 50% to drive results. I mean, I monitor that ROI pretty heavily. Nothing irritates me more than a vendor that just comes right in and thinks, that's all you have to do is talk to him. I mean, make an appointment if you want to see me, have something of value. Time
Yeah,
is precious to me.
yeah, yeah. So, kind of last couple of topics. Maybe we talk a little bit about, I know you mentioned being a Google agency partner. Um,
Mhm.
and can we talk a little bit about, what that actually means as someone in your role?
Um, so it means a lot of studying and a lot of spend. But I also know what I'm doing too, so that kind of helps. I mean, I can't believe how many dealers or people running stores that are out there without that hands-on knowledge of, even what clicks mean, what's behind the click. I mean, we don't have that lot bus anymore. We don't have that lot traffic. I mean, everything is driven from online. And if you're not online, you don't know what you're doing, I think you're way out of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll open it up for some Q&A now while we're kind of wrapping up our topical stuff here. Yeah, the last thing, we talked about was just some of the challenges around, what the the kind of good and bad side of what the OEMs monitor and dictate. And if you could just speak to that for just a minute, just not good or bad, just some of the challenges that you face.
I just think that's one of our hardest spots today because OEMs, obviously, sorry about that.
Sorry.
OEMs kind of dictate. So they kind of dictate their preferred vendors, their preferred website vendors. And, sometimes that's not always the best choice. But being an OEM has to be tough too because you have the mom and pop stores that aren't digitally doing much. And then you have a store that's crushing it. So they have to find a balance too. But
Absolutely.
I think manufacturers need to stick to manufacturing. Let's just put it that way.
There we go. What a novel idea. So a couple of questions coming in. How do you keep your marketing content fresh to your customer base?
So we play off a lot of the community. So my marketing is not your actual, was, now, save thousands, push it, pull it, drag it. Don't go for that. In March we did a whole pantry thing. So it was feed the pantry, can drive. So when you bought cars, you brought in cans for discounts. It was cans for cash. Um, Totally off the wall stuff that a lot of people would consider off the wall, but it works. I mean, it works because we're in a really close community.
Yeah, so maybe that kind of, there's like messaging fatigue, right? Like if you're hitting the same people over and over again, how do you kind of look at that as far as using that customer base?
So I really drill down. I don't send a lot of mass pieces out. We kind of segment our audiences. One nice thing that I think that we do, just like when we buy trades, just like using TradePending. I mean, I don't send, we'll buy your trade. I don't send out offers but I'll put a little thing in there that says just for Jeep Cherokees, and we'll put a picture of a Jeep Cherokee in there and your value, your trade. I mean, it's real specific marketing.
Mm.
The other thing that really, really helped us, at our store, we have gotten Dealer of the Year for 8 years. The rest of our stores joined 3 years ago. So as a group, the past 2 years, we were the only dealership in Indiana to receive every brand, every Dealer of the Year. So we put that message out a lot everywhere. We use it in the sales process. We use it everywhere.
Consumer builds consumer confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we also take care of our customers. I mean, of course, you're going to always have those ones that you're never going to make happy. But it's a big part is just taking care of your customers, be fully transparent. I mean, that's what we try to do as best we can.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, last thing, let's talk about trade shows. Tell me how you're feeling about digital dealers coming up, maybe in person in June. What's your kind of take on in-person trade shows?
I mean, I can't wait to get back out. Honestly,
Me and Matthew as well. We're missing actually being able to do stuff in person.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the best knowledge that I've gained through the years has been at trade shows, and not necessarily just the people, the colleagues. Miss it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to it.
Well, Julie, we really appreciate your time today. We love having our awesome customers on. We appreciate you and the O'Daniel Group for being so good to us and being loyal customers. And we know that your time's valuable. Man, it's been a good conversation though.
You guys are awesome. I mean, wholeheartedly, you guys are awesome. Anybody that's not using it, The one thing we didn't cover, which I'm gonna let some of my secrets out of the bag. I mean, we use your frame-in for bigmoneyforcars.com.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a total separate site. You guys see the analytics as well. I mean, that site has taken off.
Yeah, and that you actually helped us incubate, what now is the buying platform, and that's been huge. So it's we let our awesome customers kind of guide our product direction and tell us what's needed in the market.
It is my number one source to this day. So you guys are awesome. Anybody that's not using you should be.
Well, we appreciate it. Well, if anybody has made it this far, as it says, just feel free to go to this website right here, and we'll send you a free wobbly bird. So, Julie, do you have one of these?
I don't have a wobbly bird.
We'll make sure to get you a wobbly bird as well. So,
Perfect.
all right, everybody. Well, if there's no more questions, we sure appreciate everybody's attendance and look forward to the next time. And once again, Julie, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks a bunch, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.